Attention customers, the store is now closed. Please bring your final selections to the counter so we can get you checked out. And don't forget to tune in to our weekly show where you can stay up to date with all the spooky goings on here at the Night Shift. We'll also be discussing cocaine mummies. Yes, you heard me right. Over the years, multiple mummies have been found with cocaine in their system. The weird thing being that, as far as we know, the coca plant was native only to South America. As always, thank you for choosing Night Shift Video. Keep your popcorn hot and your movie scary. Welcome to the only show recorded in the video store of your mind. It is a spooky treat wrapped in a nostalgia candy shell. This is Night Shift Video. I am a horrible host. My name is James, and tonight I am joined by my always sensational co-host,
Josh.
How do you like the new intro?
I love it. So much to it.
So much. I started coming up with all these really funny things, and I was like, I need to write these things down because I'll use them. And then I was like, let's just use them for the intro, and they can change every week, and it's a blast.
You just kept going, and it just kept getting better.
All right. I was gonna try to explain to you the order we were going in tonight, but that's fine. We're already balls deep in it, so we're just gonna go for it. First thing, I think we just need to address for the show, for our listeners, a pretty major thing has happened in the midst of this pandemic that we're in that we have not talked about, and I don't know that it is as much of a situation, I guess, as what some people have made it online, but I feel like the people who listen to our show probably expect us to talk about this topic, and we haven't. So I just wanted to bring it up real quick. So I don't know if you know, but recently the government officially released some UFO footage.
Yeah. Why have we not talked about this?
Well, the videos that have been put out there, I'd actually seen the three big ones that they released, because they were leaked at different times from like 2014, 2017, I think. Reportedly leaked by Tom DeLonge of
formerly of Blink-182.
Blink-182, because I forget what the name of his he has like a little kind of organization of like UFO theorists and hunters and conspiracy people. Forget what it's called, like Academy of the Stars or Stars Academy, something like that. He's got like a thing, and like this is something that he's been like kind of obsessed with like for a long time.
Oh yeah,
like he's been very involved as things have happened, and through his kind of crew, these had already been leaked, and then now basically what's happened is the government is releasing them to the public, confirming that they are real in the sense that they don't know what these videos are of. So I think that some people have taken that to say the government has admitted that aliens exist in the midst of the pandemic and no one's talking about it. Whereas really what they're saying is, yes, these aren't fake. We don't know what these are. You know, we are just we have checked with all of our sources. It doesn't seem to be any kind of secret tech that we are working on.
Right.
We don't know what this is. So I felt like we needed to at least address it. Yes.
We're aware.
I've seen the videos, seen the comments. I think that maybe we're making a little bit bigger of a deal about it than maybe what needs to be made. But I do think it is significant that, you know, at this day and age, we actually do have something from the United States government just saying, hey, we don't know. When have they ever said we don't know about anything?
They always like that plausible deniability, and this time it's just, I don't even know what it's called. It's just, I don't know. What do you think it is?
We don't know. How many times have I just wanted someone from the U.S. government to say that about COVID. Like, just be honest. We don't know.
I don't know.
We don't know what's going to happen.
What do you think?
Like,
okay. Sounds
this
good,
is scary, and we weren't expecting it, and it's way more intense than we ever thought we were going to deal. We just don't fucking know. Like, and they said that about UFOs over the last couple weeks. And
Good job, government.
That's something, you know.
Good job.
It's that whole like, what is it? Like the best answer you can give in customer services. I don't know, but I'm gonna try to find out.
That's it.
Like, just give me that. And they gave me that with UFOs.
Yeah.
Hey, we don't know what this is. And I think the idea of releasing the footage to the public is that, like, we can, it is sort of like crowdsourcing. Like, hey, our official statement, we don't know what this is. If any of you know what it is, let us know.
Yep.
We would love to know what is flying this quickly over the ocean.
Because we're as curious as you are. We want it as well.
We're interested.
It'd be a shame if our things did that too.
We may be willing to pay a price for that if you know what it is. It would be great. So yeah, have you seen any of those videos?
I have.
They're creepy.
Yeah, it popped up and it was just like, oh, hey, look, the government admitted UFOs. No big deal. Just one more thing to this crazy.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is they whoever it is, NASA, Air Force, whatever, like they even came up with another name. It's like unexplained aeronautical phenomenon instead of unidentified flying object. It's like, oh, it's not a UFO, it's a UPA. Okay. Whatever.
I don't know.
So yeah, I felt the need to put that out there. So the other thing I was reading about this week are cocaine mummies.
Yes.
And this is going to lead me down a bit of a red pill, blue pill rabbit hole. We're going to see how far the rabbit hole goes. But we'll start out here. So in the 70s is whenever they discovered the mummy of Ramses the Great. Kind of unearthed him and ran some tests and things. And there was this one specific scientist who found grains of tobacco on the remains of Ramses the Great. Now, the weird thing... okay. A pharaoh smoked? Probably. Like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being a pharaoh is probably pretty hard. You gotta relax a little bit.
Probably smoked something at some point. That makes sense to most people, I would say. But tobacco at that time would have been, as far as we know, native to the New World, the Americas. Why is it showing up in ancient Egypt whenever, like, the British didn't even have it until Christopher Columbus in 1492? Like, that's when they discovered it.
The Brits would have killed for this in medieval times.
Like, they didn't even know this shit existed. And so, as far as we know, they're not growing it in Egypt or any other countries in Africa.
There's no records of it.
Exactly. So that's weird. But, of course, like, and it's the 70s, we're really early into a lot of these processes anyway. They pretty much immediately write it off as contamination from some kind of outside source. So, like, maybe someone...
I should have been smoking that cigarette while I was looking at the mummy.
And it was the 70s, so that probably was happening. Let's be honest. And, yeah, that's kind of just where they left it. About 20 or so years later, in the 90s, we get this other German scientist who is intrigued by the possibilities going on here. And she decides to just take another look at old Ramses the Great.
Why not?
And
he's not going anywhere.
Why does he care?
No.
And so she goes in, she gets him in there, and she says, I want to go a little bit deeper to try to, eliminate the argument of outside contamination. Like, okay, well, what if we go deeper into tissue where, like, someone's ash isn't just going to fall into the mummy if it's, like, all the way in his intestines. So we're going to pull out a piece of the intestines, and that's exactly what she did.
Yep.
And she finds not only tobacco, but also traces of cocoa, cocaine,
Cocaine.
and cannabis as well. Finds all these things. So we do know up to this point that in the Middle East they would have had access to a form of cannabis. So that one is kind of explained. But again, cocoa, as far as we know, especially at that point in time of whenever these pharaohs would have been ruling, was only grown in South America.
Right.
It's the only place we've ever known.
That's still where it's mainly grown.
It's the only place we know that it actually grows naturally.
Yeah.
Like, this is where it exists.
It needs a specific temperature, climate.
Right, exactly.
It's not ancient Egypt.
It's not the frickin' desert. So that seems weird. So then she brings in 9 more mummies and says, I'm going to test all of them. All 9 she finds with weed, coke, and tobacco in their systems. Another team comes by, confirms her claims. A completely separate team. Has nothing to do with her. If anything, they were hired to disprove her.
Yep.
They come in and say, yeah, there's weed, tobacco, and cocaine.
They were partying hard in those pyramids.
They didn't go in the pyramids till after they died,
Well,
right?
afterlife stuff.
Afterlife parties. So yeah, they figured all this out. So now she brings in dozens and dozens of mummies. They examine tons of mummies, and at least 78% of them had traces of cocaine. And the younger that the mummy was when the person would have passed, the more cocaine was in their system. So kind of the question that poses is, had the Egyptians been making trips at least to South America some maybe 3,000 years before Christopher Columbus?
He's a scrub.
He ain't got nerfing on the old Egyptians. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, I will right away kind of jump on the kibosh train, I guess, in that they do say that there are some plants that grow on the continent of Africa that, as they decompose, can give off the same metabolic signatures as cocaine and or tobacco. But the thing that I still find interesting about it is I've been very intrigued by this hypothesis. It's called the Silurian hypothesis, which is it's a thought experiment akin to the idea of ancient astronauts, ancient aliens, whatever you want to call it. But specifically, the Silurian hypothesis centers around the idea of, could there have been a ancient civilization that was as technologically advanced or more technologically advanced than we are at this point? Did humanity reach a point and then through some sort of catastrophic event, possibly a plague?
No,
or
those don't happen.
Virus of some sort?
Those don't happen.
Revert us back to a more primal state where we have had to then rebuild.
Like, wasn't there an episode of Futurama when everybody was like super advanced, and then they what was it? Then they learned something. Then they all
that sounds right.
Then they just all turned to like normal humans. Like, they were perfectly efficient. They were super well behaved, and then something happened. Like, they discovered TV or something.
Right.
And like just went to shit.
So that's a genuine hypothesis, and specifically the Silurian hypothesis is, let's pretend that is possible, that did happen. Could we know that? Is there any way that we could discover that? Are there remnants of their technology or anything? If they were that much advanced and it was that long ago, is there anything that we could find that would prove that was real or disprove it, for that matter? And kind of the answer is no. Like, their technology could have been so advanced or it could, if it was made out of the same types of things that we make a lot of our technology out of when you're talking about circuit boards, silicon transistors, things like that, a lot of that stuff decomposes fairly quickly, not in the term of like being in a landfill, but in the term of like a million years.
Yeah.
So like it's, you know, I also think of like you haven't played it yet, but Breath of the Wild kind of has this theme of this
Can't
like
wait to.
kind of has this theme of this like ancient technology. Like you get this thing in Breath of the Wild that's basically an iPad, but like it looks like it was made by ancient Egyptians. Like, but it's like technology and it like opens gates and shit. And like that stuff, I don't know. You know, it's like what we talked about in Halo, the Forerunners,
Yeah.
Destiny, the Architects,
Like Stargate.
It's that same kind of thing, but like it's really been on my mind lately. I've been looking into ley lines a lot, and so basically there's this theory that a lot of ancient landmarks or symbolic structures can kind of line up whenever you start like laying out some imaginary lines across the globe. Specifically, there's like this one that's called the Great Line that literally can connect the Nazca lines, pyramids of Giza, Angkor Wat, which I believe is the one that's in what's that country?
I can't remember.
It starts with a C. Cambodia. I think Angkor Wat's in Cambodia.
Yeah.
And then Machu Picchu, and then also Stonehenge. And then the other kind of flip side of that is that so there's these imaginary lines that kind of connect them across the globe. But then also is just the interesting argument. Oh, I forgot. Easter Island's also in there. Easter Island's also part of the Great Line, which obviously the giant heads and everything.
They keep finding stuff out about those things.
They keep finding stuff. Why did it take us so long to dig more?
We're like, oh, I bet the head stops there. And then we just stopped.
And then like 45 years later, we just started to dig, and they're like, holy shit, they have entire bodies down there.
Huh. Well, we're good for another 10 years. You dummies. You big dummies.
Like,
you excavate for a living.
I'm starting to wonder if there's just like, if that's just like the tip of the iceberg. What if the whole island down there is like carved stone?
Yeah. It's like if Khazad-dûm from Lord of the Rings got filled in with dirt.
Yeah.
You gotta like excavate it.
Yeah.
There's a Balrog down there. Come on.
I don't know, man. It's weird. So yeah, all of those line up, and then also just the idea that things like Machu Picchu, Angkor Wat, the pyramids of Giza, all of these ancient structures, so many of them are shaped similarly. Like they're not exactly the same, obviously. Like Machu Picchu and like Mayan ruins and stuff, they don't look exactly like Egyptian pyramids, but they always take this like
there's a certain ratio and geometry.
Yeah, the golden ratio.
And plus, just the science of them is, similar.
Insane.
In how they had to be built and things like that.
And I watched this video of this guy he's like I don't even know what the word is. He knows rocks.
Geologist.
Sure. But not, he knows like building rocks.
A buildy geologist.
Like a mason, but better.
A mason geologist.
Like not just with bricks, like with any kind of, like he knows how you like put rocks together. Maybe he's just a paleontologist. I don't know.
Maybe.
Like, or archaeologist. That's the word. Paleontologist is dinosaurs.
Yeah. Well, isn't a paleontologist like previous
probably
things?
Yeah.
It just happens to be dinosaurs because there's not a lot else.
Yeah.
This old tree.
In my mind though, I wasn't thinking Alan Grant. I was thinking Indiana Jones.
Oh yeah. Not a dorky hat, but a cool hat.
So yeah, he studies that kind of stuff, and he talks a lot about specifically how the stones for these structures are laid, and they're all using a very similar technique. Like obviously every civilization has their own kind of spin on it, and like their own ornamental things, and like they'll carve their own shit, or like everything kind of has its own style. But they're all using basically the same type of technique and fitting these bricks together, which, as far as we know, humans really didn't have a good grasp on how to do that for a very long time.
We're still amazed that the Romans made the aqueducts, and that was way later.
Yeah, that's a great example. So yeah, the fact that all of these are connected, like that brings up just this idea that was there a civilization that was much more advanced than maybe not more advanced than we are, but at least more advanced than we've ever given them credit for. And then also, was the world more interconnected at some point than what we teach in history class?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, could ancient Egyptians have had access to cocaine and tobacco?
Mm-hmm.
And we just write it off as an impossibility.
Like, I think part of it, you could say, we assume, like Pangea makes sense.
Yep.
And we assume how long it took.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on where your background is. But Pangea could have happened very quickly or not. So let's just say it happened very quickly.
Yeah.
In recent Egyptian memory, you could have been like, oh crap, where'd this big body of water come from? And they have these boats that normally work, and they just, go twice as far as normal.
Yeah.
And then maybe it gets farther, but that's
Right.
an option. I mean, the same way like why, kind of some animals get to different places.
Yeah.
Pangea is usually what people refer to.
You don't fuck with Pangea? Just listen to Little Dicky today. Pillow Talking. If you haven't heard it, it's a really good song. So yeah, man. I mean, I think that's kind of the thing for me is like, I was taught that in school, like the idea of Pangea's existence and how it, something happened and it separated and that created the continents that we have. And I've always believed that to be true. But I think that there is something there for like, maybe the timeline of that isn't exactly what we think it is. Maybe it did happen a lot faster.
Yeah.
We have no way of really knowing.
No.
But things like this kind of make you wonder, like,
Yeah.
because I'm sure, I mean, I don't know, like, even if it did take a long period of time, maybe it just didn't happen when we thought it happened. I don't know. Like, it opens up a whole bowl of worms. But yeah, I mean,
It's really cool to think about at any point that everything was connected.
yeah,
Like, and it's just kind of cool. Like, oh, I'm just like technically you can walk to Russia, if you
Right.
got enough ice.
hmm
But just to think, it's just one big piece of pie. It's all connected.
yeah,
Cool.
it's pretty wild. So yeah, I mean, that about does it for us here at the Night Shift. For Night Shift Video, my name is James, and this guy is,
Josh.
and we're just saying, thanks for stopping in.